NASA, we have always answered the innate call to go.
With Artemis,
we are going to stay.
proving that humanity
can live on the moon,
Mars, and other worlds,
and share the wonders of the solar system with all.
Our story is one of people.
All those who make this journey possible.
From advocates across communities,
to companies across industries,
To countries around the world,
we achieve
This collective endeavor.
our efforts create impact for all.
Technologies that revolutionize industries.
And jobs that bring prosperity to people.
The discoveries from space
benefit the way we live on Earth today.
and those from the moon
Will create a better future
for generations to come.
but to do that,
We must go.
Hi, I'm Chell Lindgren. My name is Raja Chari.
Kayla Barron. Kate Rubens. Hi, I'm Christina Cook.
NASA astronaut Joe Acaba.
Jessica Meir,
Woody Hoberg.
Anne McClain.
Stephanie Wilson,
My name is Johnny Kim.
Nicole Mann,
Victor Glover.
Jessica Watkins.
hi, I'm Matthew Dominick.
Jasmine Mobilli.
Frank Rubio.
Scott Tingle.
This is what we do. This is what we will do.
Let's go.
We go to the moon to learn how to live on other planets.
For the benefit of all.
And welcome to the Apollo 5 Center here at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Thank you so much for joining us. As you just saw in that video, the 18 astronauts from NASA that were named to the Artemis team is set. And we have 5 of them here with us today who are serving as ambassadors for that team. We appreciate you all being here with us for a conversation about what Artemis means, to get some reaction on you being named to that team, as well as take some questions from our media here. Of course, Vice President Mike Pence just announced the 18 astronauts on the Artemis team. The mission is to land the first woman and the next man on the moon, and then to learn to live and work on another world for the benefit of our world, as well as going on to Mars. I want to introduce the astronauts we have the pleasure of talking to today, and begin with Jessica Meir, NASA astronaut. We have Joe Acaba. We have Jessica Watkins. Matthew Dominick. And Anne McClain. Very good. We're going to start with you, Jessica, and a pretty big day today. Let's talk a little bit about your background. You are a doctorate in, you have a doctorate in marine biology. You're a veteran astronaut. You made history when you did the first 3 all-women spacewalks with Christina Cook. Your mom says you knew you were going to be an astronaut when you were 5 years old, but you were sharing with me that you had a memory of when you first realized you wanted to be an astronaut. Well, when was that?
Yeah, that's right. My mom tells me the story that I started saying it when I was 5 years old, but I don't know if you remember everything you said when you were 5. I certainly don't. My first distinct memory of it was when I was in the first grade. Our teacher asked us to draw a picture of what we wanted to be when we grew up, and I drew that kind of iconic image of the Apollo era of an astronaut in a spacesuit standing on the surface of the moon next to the American flag. So that was what I said really from that moment. I never changed that line of what I wanted to do.
That's incredible to think about you making that drawing, and now here you are on the Artemis team.
Yes, thank you so much. It is really incredibly exciting, of course, to be part of this exceptional team. You saw all of these faces, and I know that everybody in the astronaut office and all of our international partners are so ready to support this next chapter of human spaceflight.
And what are you looking most forward to in this mission?
For me, the Artemis mission is important for 3 main reasons. First of all, for exploration. I truly believe it is an innate characteristic of the human species to explore. Secondly, an easy one for me as a scientist, for science. If you look at the scientific experiments that were conducted on the Apollo missions, they changed the way that we see our solar system. And we are still, to this day, learning from those very samples using newer technologies all the time. But there is so much yet to discover. I'm sure our colleague Jessica Watkins can tell you a lot more about the exciting geological opportunities that remain for us to uncover on the moon, that we will uncover, as science is a very critical component of the Artemis missions. And lastly, if you think again to those Apollo missions, they had a profound impact on many other aspects of our culture and society, stimulating participation and interest and growth of all of the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, math, and of course, those had ramifications far beyond that of exploration that our society still benefits from today. I am certain that Artemis will continue to have all of those same effects.
We appreciate your confidence, too, as you get started with this team. I want to move on to Joe Acaba, a former math and science teacher, a veteran astronaut with 10 months in space of experience. But you also taught at Melbourne High School, just an hour down the road from right here at the Kennedy Space Center, and Dunellen as well. So I want to start by asking you, yes, you were here, of course, when you launched on the space shuttle, but what's it like to be back here as a teacher in an area where you taught kids, as well as launched into space?
Yeah, it's great to be back here at the Kennedy Space Center out here in Florida. You know, being part of the shuttle program was amazing and quite the honor to have. I was here last month as part of the commercial crew program supporting Crew 1 that just launched, so lots of history, but a lot coming up in the future. But to be an educator and be back here today where I taught, you know, down the road, I hope some of my students are watching today. My hair's a little bit shorter than it used to be when I taught.
You had some long hair.
I had some long hair. It's hard times being a school teacher. I hope they're watching. I know they were very excited when I applied to become an astronaut and when I finally got selected. But I hope that there's a new generation of students that are watching this today, and they're excited. You know, Jessica, you could hear her excitement and how she felt when she was 5 years old. I didn't think that when I was 5 years old, and I thought I found my profession being a school teacher, but here I am today. So it's cool to be here. The history is awesome, but we're all here to look towards the future.
And you speak very highly of teachers who choose that profession. I'm wondering, you mentioned the students, they're still in contact with you?
Yeah, so I do have some students now that, you know, they email me. I'm sure after this announcement, my name will be out there and they'll probably shoot me a line. So it's cool to hear from them, to share what I'm doing, but really to hear about what they're doing. And, you know, there's no greater profession than being a school teacher. And it's that impact that we have as educators that just go on and on. So it's cool.
And that's fantastic. And as a teacher, have you thought about how you will share Artemis with everyone?
Boy, there's a lot of ways to do that. The program itself is exciting. You know, there is no kid out there, all of us here, that have not looked up into the sky and wondered, what would it be like to go up there and walk on that thing? And so what I want to do as an educator is to, you know, inspire those students that this is a possibility, but we're going to the moon to get to Mars. And it's those students that we're going to talk to that are going to get us there as engineers and astronauts.
And it's incredible. You talk about everyone looking up at the moon and wondering what it's like. I did as a kid as well. So we will be looking up at you and certainly rooting you all on. I want to move now to Jessica Watkins. Welcome. I understand you have some family here, locally in the area.
I do. That's correct. Yes, I have some family that lives in the Orlando area. And a few weeks back, a couple months actually, I was able to tie in with them. They came out to, my aunt is an educator, just like Joe, and she was able to bring her class, a lot of her school actually, come to a field trip out here at KSC. And I was able to tie in and say hello to them, so that was really excellent.
That's pretty neat. Let's talk a little bit about your resume. You're a geologist, as was mentioned. You study landslides on Earth and Mars. You're an aquanaut and a member of the science team for the Mars Curiosity rover. You also, I thought this was interesting, won a national championship with the Stanford women's Division I rugby team, which is pretty impressive, no?
No, that's correct. I was definitely privileged to be a part of that team and get to experience that win with them as well. Being part of a rugby team, as Anne McClain can attest to as well as a rugby player as well. There are a lot of similarities to a rugby team as to this Artemis team and the whole NASA team overall. On a rugby team, you have people with very varied skill sets. You have people who are smaller, people who are larger, or people who are stronger. People bring different strengths to the table. And I think that's true both of this Artemis team and NASA as well. And all of those strengths come together to really build a productive and winning team.
And I think one of your strengths is speed. I was looking at one of the wonderfully produced videos that are done on you, and there's this great clip of you scoring a try. Two defenders are coming to get you, and they're running in the same direction, and you split them on the way to score, but it's not so much that you split them, but you blew by them, and they were running in the same direction you did.
Yes, well, so of all those skill sets, the only one that I have is speed, so I have to use it wisely.
It was wonderful watching that score. Let's talk a little bit about the mysteries of the moon, because you talk often about how geology helps us understand the history of what happened. What are you looking forward to in terms of solving the mysteries of the moon?
Absolutely. I'm happy that you asked that question. Certainly the moon, we have a lot that we can learn from the moon as well as learn about the moon. In terms of understanding the history of the moon itself, one of the big questions in the polar regions is looking at lunar volatiles. So understanding how those volatiles formed, where they are, their distribution and extent, which will also help us in the future as we start to look for a site to build our moon base and continue into the future. The moon also allows us to look at planetary processes, particularly looking at impact cratering, which is a process that we see on multiple bodies, rocky bodies in the solar system, and helps us understand ages within the solar system. The moon will also help us understand more about the Earth. For one, the moon-Earth system and the origin of the moon helps us understand more about Earth and how we can apply some of that knowledge to what we know about the Earth. And lastly, the moon can also function as a platform where we can start to explore the sun and astrophysics, start to observe the universe from a different vantage point and learn so much more.
And we need resources on the moon as well, right, if we're going to sustain a presence there, which is very key.
Absolutely.
Jessica, thank you so much. And now, Mr. Matthew Dominick, U.S. Navy test pilot and fighter pilot. You flew 61 combat missions. You're a double E, electrical engineer. And interestingly, you were kidnapped aboard an aircraft carrier where your fellow airman or seaman rather shaved a stripe right through the top of your head. Right? Held you down?
That's correct. I'd be lying if I say I didn't deserve it. I had played a practical joke on them, and they got me back.
Well, I can only imagine what that looked like.
I had to finish the job and get rid of the rest of the hair, yeah.
You went full cue ball, shave it all off. That sounded like that was the right choice. In talking about, as we stand here, and this mission, the Artemis mission, we look at this great vehicle, the Saturn V rocket. I know you're a tinkerer, and you love to take things apart, understand how they work. When you look at this machine, what are your thoughts? What do you think about when you see something this impressive that made history here in America?
I mean, I've been struggling to listen and to see here as we stand in this room, the Saturn V building, and look at all the incredible hardware. And it's a thing of dreams, right? It's a thing, it instantly takes you to a childhood dream. You look and you imagine every bolt and every valve and every fuel line that runs to this hardware, or the quarter-scale Orion, or the SLS on the mobile launcher over there, and think about the people in the team in America coming together and our national partners coming together to make that work, right? You could imagine being the engineer waking up in the middle of the night and thinking, well, maybe I should change this to make the design a little bit better because there's a few really lucky pink bodies, 150 feet that way who are going to ride this thing, and you don't want to let the world down, right? You don't want to ever let the world down. There's an immense weight on your shoulders. So as I look around, I see the hardware. I imagine walking out to the launch pad in a dream, and you go up that elevator, and the building is creaking in the wind, and the wind is rustling through as you come out the door. Like the gas, the rocket has just been fueled, and it's creaking with the new stress and the new loads. Those are the things I think about when I look at this hardware. I instantly enter a dream world. This is the thing of dreams. Right. I'm incredibly lucky to be here.
I feel like you just took me there in the way that you describe it. That's outstanding. I know that you've been involved. We were talking about your background and how you're applying it now as an astronaut, the interface between human and electronics. And so you've already been working with the team that's building Orion. Tell me a little bit about that.
In the Navy, I worked in, my specialty was human-machine interface, right? And it's been really incredible to have worked in the Navy, training and working and redesigning flight control laws to land on an aircraft carrier and revolutionizing how we did that. And now those same techniques, the same principles, as we sit down with all of the vendors, as we look at the human landing system to get ready to go back to the moon, having the same theoretical conversations with them about the human-machine interface necessary to go and do the task of landing on the moon. Like you wake up every morning and you feel this immense burden for society and humanity that I need to do this well today. I am the one, a bunch of us, all of the astronauts in the Corps, all of the people at all the centers are in the arena trying to make this happen for humanity. And so it's incredible to see those just be working with the hardware and making the decisions in the room. And maybe it's COVID and maybe you're walking out of a Teams meeting, right? A video chat. And you realize, whoa, we just talked about landing on the moon today and how we're going to make it happen. So it's very easy to be motivated to come to work.
And it's interesting, you talk about the responsibility. I mean, there's inherent risk, obviously, with being an astronaut. That's always brought down by NASA in the best way that we can. But you were telling me that you don't think about that. You think about the responsibility that you have.
I think if you had to choose between two fears, what I'm more afraid of, dying on a rocket or letting down all of the people that worked so hard to make this happen, all of the international partners that came together, that toiled for their careers, decades to make something happen, and you maybe didn't study a little bit more so that you know the right time to throw the switch to make it happen. I think there's an immense amount of responsibility there. I think I'm more afraid of that than of dying, right? Like that's the fear. That's the thing that drives you when you wake up.
That sounds like the right stuff to me. Thank you, Matthew, for sharing that with us. Ann McClain, welcome and thank you for being here. A little bit about you, West Point grad, Marshall Scholarship winner in 2002, a military instructor pilot, veteran astronaut with a call sign Animal. Tell me a little bit how you got that call sign.
Sure. Well, as Jessica said, there's a lot of different skill sets on a rugby field. Some people run fast, and some people hit hard. And
which one were you?
I was in the latter. If Jessica and I were ever on the same pitch, I couldn't catch her. I think one of the important reasons I'd like to go to the moon is a fighting chance to catch Jessica there. But
no gravity evens the field, right?
That's right.
Well, that's outstanding. I want to ask you. You talk often about overcoming your doubts as you achieved some pretty incredible things in your career so far. As you look at the Artemis program, kind of what are you sensing about the challenge that lies ahead?
Yeah, I talk to people often about the doubts that's in the back of our mind, right? Because we're all human, and this is human spaceflight. And the human in human spaceflight is the most complicated part. And we all wake up in the morning. None of us wake up and go, you know what, I'm going to do 100% correct today, right? We all wake up and there's like something in the back of our mind that makes us doubt. And the people that achieve and that make things happen are the ones that address the doubt, respect it, and move on, right? Bravery is not the absence of fear. It's being afraid and doing it anyway. Okay, and there's plenty of times that everybody on this stage and everybody out here was worried about something, doubted something, wondered if that was the right path for them, thought something was going to be too hard for them to achieve, and guess what they did? They did it anyway. This crew and our crew at NASA is a group of doers. We are dreamers, but even more so, we're doers. And in order to do, you got to face those fears, face those doubts, and move forward.
And that's why people look up to you and the rest of the astronauts so much when they hear things like this and knowing what you do. You were telling me earlier that one of the biggest questions you get from the public is Jessica, or Ann, sorry, are you going to be the first woman on the moon? And I thought your response was interesting. What do you say?
Yeah, we do get asked that, and especially I think even more so now we're going to get asked that. Is it going to be you? And one of the things that I learned from the first day I stepped in the halls at NASA is the caliber of people that we work with. And so right now, what I know is that I'm either going to walk on the moon, or one of my friends is going to walk on the moon, and both of those scenarios are beyond my wildest dreams when I was a kid.
Wow, that's special to hear that. And you're also one of the few astronauts that has a Saturday Night Live skit done about you. By the way, did you think that was funny?
I was just happy she got her uniform right. As an Army officer, it's very important to me to make sure that Patch is in the right place, so I hand it to him for getting it right.
They got the details right in it, right? Well, you folks really are an inspiring bunch, and thank you so much for taking the time to have a conversation with us. We do want to get to some questions from the media who have gathered here, and we'd like to ask you to say your name and affiliation, and to whom you would like to direct the question.
Sure. Hi. Thanks for taking my question. I'm Amy from Space.com, and I was just, whoever wants to answer, how excited are you guys to be in the first class for this program and to maybe be the first to ride on a new rocket and a new spacecraft?
How about Jessica? There's two of them on stage, Jessica
Which
Meir or Jessica Watkins.
Jessica, it's all you.
Yes, I can definitely tell you that all of us here on stage, as well as the 13 others back in Houston, as well as the rest of the astronaut corps, we are all so excited to be a part of this effort. We're so excited about moving forward, taking the next step, and making this dream going back to the moon a reality.
Awesome. And then I had a question for Jessica Meir. I'm sure that you guys are all comrades and friends and get along really well, but how special is it to share this with Christina, who you got to share your spacewalks with and your time in space?
It's really amazing. I think it kind of goes back to what Ann said earlier about the fact that we are all colleagues and we all work closely together, but we are all friends as well. When I go to work every day, I know that I'm going to see people that not only do I love to work with, but I just love to hang out with in my free time and to spend all of these things of life. As you can imagine, becoming an astronaut is full of a lot of changes in our lives for all of us. And you really have an exceptionally close bond, especially with your classmates. Christina's one of those classmates. Ann's one of my classmates. All 8 of us in that class particularly like brothers and sisters. So it is an absolute privilege and honor, and it just makes it even more special to be sharing it with those people that I know that I love so much.
Hi there, Rachel Joy with Florida Today. Jessica Watkins, you very well could be the first woman on the moon. I'm curious why you think it's important that a woman should go to the moon.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it's a really big honor for all of us to be here, to be part of this team, to be part of this effort, and to know that we can contribute to that first woman and that next man on the moon. I think for me, what that means is just being a part of this Artemis generation. It's something that, as we've kind of described, is something that we've all looked forward to, or hoped for, dreamed of since we were little. And for that dream to be becoming a reality, really just for the nation, that we are going back to the moon, and I think is really exciting for all of us.
And let's broaden that out to our ladies on the stage with you. Jessica Meir, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think Jessica captured it quite well. I mean, we are all ready to be part of this team, and it makes sense. When we came into this, when our class started, we were 50% female, 50% male, and it was the first time that had happened, but it felt normal to us. And this is something that, of course, I get this question a lot in talking about that spacewalk that Christina and I did together. And to us, it really isn't a personal achievement for us. It is paying homage and tribute to the generations of women and other minorities that really were the boundary pushers, that truly broke those glass ceilings to let us be here today. The great thing is for us now, it just seems normal. We are all going to go together to the moon, and we're going to go as a team. And the fact that that is just a thing that's part of everything we do now shows how far we've come. And that's really thanks to those generations before us.
And does it seem normal to you as well?
It does seem normal, and part of that is, when I was up on space station, and, we never even thought about genders or races or religions or nationalities even until somebody asked us about them. And so it has actually made us reflect on the reasons. And my takeaway is that the strongest teams are the most diverse teams. I can be a little hard-headed sometimes, I know that, and I flew my mission with a Canadian doctor. He and I have very different personalities. And the thing with a group is that if everybody's agreeing, nobody's thinking. Okay? And so there were decisions that I made during my mission that my crewmate said, hey, why don't you think about this? And that saved that day, and vice versa. The second part of it is representation. We represent all walks of life in America. And every kid in America, and across the world even now, needs to look and say, if you look like me, I can do this. And it's important for us to be able to look at them and say, you have an opportunity. The doors are open. Come on after us.
And you all three are very much an inspiration to young girls around the world. Another question?
I'm going to ask another question. So Jessica and Matthew, you're both newbies, right? Haven't been to space? Yeah? Okay. So Matthew, your first time going to space is going to be direct to the moon. Is that a little intimidating? I mean, that's like no space station trip first. What do you think?
Let's go. We're going. We go. Of course it's intimidating, right? And it's like I talked about before. You just don't want to let so many people who've worked so hard on this team, right? It's going to be an international coalition that's going to go do it. You don't want to let them down, and it just makes you study harder. It makes you tougher, makes you stronger.
Okay, congratulations to all of you.
All right, we have another question.
Hey everybody, Mike from Fox 35 News in Orlando. May I ask this Jessica a question first? We hear that when we go to the moon this time, it's going to be to go there to stay. And I wonder if you've thought about sort of how long you would be willing to be there. Have you thought about what if you could go, but you couldn't come back?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I can tell you that at the end of my 205 days on the space station, I was not ready to leave. If it were up to me, I would have stayed up there, even if there weren't, a COVID-filled Earth that I was coming back to. Even despite that, 205 days wasn't long enough. So I think when we are up there doing these missions, time passes very quickly because we are in this whole novel atmosphere with so many exciting opportunities around us, so much to discover and so much to do, that for me it just flew by. I think it's going to be exactly true, probably even more so when we get all the way to the moon, that we are going to have so much to do. We're going to have so many people to not let down, as Matt mentioned, and we're going to be there and ready to stay for as long as the mission dictates. And so I think personally, I always trust in the training that we receive and on the hundreds and thousands of people that are supporting us on the ground. They're the ones that are designing the correct mission architecture, so they will design the appropriate length mission to get the most out of it for all of us back on Earth. So absolutely, I'll be ready to stay for whatever duration that dictates.
Years?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think absolutely. If we start talking about this first mission to Mars, it would probably be a 3-year mission the way it's looking right now, and I would be ready to do that when the team has it all designed and ready to go.
Good for you. Anne, question for you. Is it possible that you could be involved in the Artemis program and also the Mars program? You've been to station, right? So they're choosing astronauts who have been involved in shuttle and low Earth orbit at the station. Do you think about, what if I could check both boxes, the moon and Mars?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because right now at NASA we're at a really unique time where we have a lot of overlapping missions. Right? And just in our astronaut office, we have 50 astronauts, almost 50 astronauts right now, and we're training on 4 different vehicles. Some people are training to test a brand new vehicle. Some people are training to fly from a vehicle overseas for a 6-month mission to the space station. Some people are designing and looking at the lunar landers. And so all of us are involved in something different. And none of us are successful if all of those aren't successful. And so we are a very busy office right now. And so right now, the Mars missions at our office on our operational level, they're not quite there yet as a direct Mars mission. Obviously, the space station is one of our proving grounds. The moon's going to be our next proving ground. And if I can stay healthy long enough, then I'd love to check that next block.
We're certainly working on the technology to, this moon will be the proving ground in order to build that technology to get out to Mars. Another question.
All right. Team, congratulations. Well done. Greg Paloma, Spectrum News 13, right here on Florida Space Coast. My question is, back in 1969 in July, there was a gentleman who said some very famous words when he went to a certain place for the first time. And this is for anybody who would like to jump in. Again, not a rigged question, but have you thought about what you may say, whether you're the next man or the first woman to land on the moon?
No. I mean, this is just, it's a dream come true for a lot of us just to be here. For me, it'd be a little premature, but, if I happen to be that person, trust me, there'll be some thought put into that. Like Matt said, that's one thing you don't want to mess up when you have that opportunity.
And Matt, it looks like you were pondering that in your head in this very moment.
Of course, and I was racking and stacking all of the things in the priority order, and that was way at the end of the list. Not ready yet.
There's a lot of work to do.
I think if that's something that's keeping us up, a lot of things have gone right, and that's really exciting. And if we know who it's going to be, I think we're going to be ribbing them a lot and say, you better think of something good.
Yeah. And maybe I'm not going to help you.
I can imagine it, even like the inspiration coming on the journey there, right? You might have something in your mind, and you might change it along the way, just as many writers do. A follow-up question?
If there's time, I'd love to throw this at you. If you could put some words in a time capsule for people 100 years from now about what this mission is, with the Artemis mission, what would you like to say? What would you like to say to people, and not just Americans, but people across the world, and maybe people will meet eventually on other worlds? What would it be 100 years from now? What would you like to say to them?
I think I see spaceflight as it's a very long relay race, and we're all really fortunate to be able to hold the baton for a short period of time. So if in 100 years, I would almost want to ask them a question, but I think what I would just say is I hope that for the time I held the baton, I made this a better program, I changed lives for the better, the program for the better, and that your lives are better for it.
Hard to follow that up.
Yeah. Thank you. Good luck, guys.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much to our media members. We appreciate you joining in and asking the questions. One last question, though, for you that I have. With a show of hands, who would like to be the first woman or the next man to go to the moon? There it is, all five, in honor of the Mercury 7 press conference. We appreciate seeing that. Thank you all for being here. Coming to Florida, taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with us and talk with us and share your thoughts and feelings about the Artemis program. We greatly appreciate it. And if you want to learn more about these astronauts, you can do so by going online to nasa.gov/Artemis team. Again, that's nasa.gov/Artemis team. Their biographies are there, as well as some very finely produced videos about them where you can hear them in their own words. I want to thank you all for watching and remind you to keep looking up. Thanks, everyone.